Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Rolex Yacht-Master 40 reference 126622. This watch is available from Chronex.com for €14,390. You can purchase the watch from Chronex.com online, or alternatively in person at their boutiques. All their watches are Chronex certified original by their in-house watchmakers, and all their watches are covered by the Chronex 24-month warranty. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with a piece. So the Yacht-Master 40 comes in this familiar Rolex cardboard outer watch box. As you can see, it has the coronet embossed on the lid, which is very aesthetically pleasing. One removes the lid, pulls down the flap, and I will show you the watch box itself. So the watch box is finished to a high standard, and I like the gold coronet, which is embossed on the hinged lid. Inside the lid we have a flap which one pulls down, and that houses two items which I'll show you. There is a leather wallet containing the guarantee manual worldwide service booklet, and on the reverse we have the new style electronic warranty card. So this is a brand new 2020 unworn piece, and as you can see the date of purchase was the 13th of December 2020. One also gets this Oyster Perpetual Yacht-Master Owner's Instruction Manual, which is a very useful read. And lastly, one also gets this tag, and as you can see it says Rolex SA Geneva on one side, and on the reverse it says Superlative Certified with the Rolex hologram. So this tag certifies that the movement used in the piece, which is the caliber 3235, is certified both by COSC and Rolex themselves as a superlative chronometer. So, with regards to the specification of the piece, this is the Rolex Yacht-Master 40 reference 126622. So being the new 2020 version, it has the updated caliber 3235 movement. The previous version of the Yacht-Master 40 used the caliber 3135. 40mm case diameter. It has a 47.2mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 11.6mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The Oyster style bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to the flip block clasp, and as you can see the flip block clasp is signed with the Rolex coronet. Absolutely beautiful to look at. The bracelet is made from two metals. The outer links are made from 9040 oyster steel, which are brushed satin finish. The centre links are made from 950 platinum. So the platinum links are mirror polished to a flawless standard. The outer links are brushed satin finish. Brushed satin finish to the top side and underside of the outer links, which contrasts with the mirror polishing to the flanks of the bracelet. Absolutely beautiful to look at, the 950 platinum, and also the brushed satin finish to the 9040 oyster steel. With regards to the case, it's made from solid 9040 oyster steel, mirror polished to the tops of the lugs, and also the flanks of the case polished to a flawless finish as one would expect. That contrasts beautifully with the solid 950 platinum bezel. As you can see, the lowest section of the bezel is matte bead blasted effect. The embossed Arabic numerals, minute ticks and also triangle are mirror polished to a flawless finish. The scalloping on the platinum bezel is just absolutely gorgeous to look at. The inner scallops are matte finished, which contrasts beautifully to the mirror polished exterior of the teeth. So let's test the bezel action. Like the Rolex Yacht-Master 2, I've previously reviewed the Batman for example, it has a bi-directional bezel rather than a unidirectional 120 click bezel used as per the Submariner and Submariner date. Very similar feeling to the Yacht-Master 2. Ratcheting mechanism, good firm resistance to the ratcheting mechanism in both directions. The ratcheting mechanism feels even all the way through the 360 degrees of rotation, regardless of whether one rotates it clockwise or anti-clockwise. Exactly the same feeling as a Yacht-Master 2 bezel. Good firm resistance, needless to say, no lateral side-to-side play whatsoever, and of course the bezel alignment is correct as one would expect. So incredibly satisfying to use, yet it's very aesthetically pleasing with the mirror polished embossed Arabic numerals, minute ticks and triangle. But it's also very functional because, like the Yacht-Master 2, the Yacht-Master's bi-directional bezel allows quick setting of the minute hand to the Arabic numerals and minute ticks on the bezel. So it is a very functional and well executed bezel. One of my favourite aspects of the Yacht-Master 40 is the blue sunburst dial. It gives the Yacht-Master 40 its own identity. It doesn't look like a GMT Master 2, for example, because they aren't made with a blue sunburst dial. However, the Rolex Submariner Dates does have a blue sunburst dial, which is very similar. Similar dial layouts to the Rolex Maxi dial. It has white gold applied indices and also white gold Mercedes hands. The red second hand is finished in red, which contrasts beautifully with the blue sunburst dial. Cyclops Magnifier provides 2.5 times magnification to the date complication, and it has AR coating on the underside, which does work very well. So it's absolutely gorgeous to look at, the blue sunburst dial contrasting with the red second hand. And also I like the design of the red text of Yacht-Master on the 6 o'clock position. It just looks very nice, so it's a very pleasing piece to look at. The crown is coin edge finished, signed with the Rolex coronet, and it has 3 dots, and that denotes that it's a triplock crown like the Submariner Date. However, this crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters. With the Submariner Date triplock crown, it provides an effective hermetic seal to 300 meters. So let's test the crown action. Absolutely silky smooth. It has firm resistance to it. It's a characteristic of the caliber 32-35 that the resistance of the crown feels silky smooth, but the actual movement itself, the winding stem, has firm resistance in the caliber 32-35 to the caliber 31-35, its predecessor. In the first position, it's the manual wind position, and one can manually wind the crown to top up the power reserve to its maximum 70 hours. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication, and rotating the crown clockwise rotates the date complication using the quick set, as you can see, so it works as one would expect. Pulling it out to the final click position is the time setting position. Now there's firmer resistance. One can feel the gearing in the caliber 32-35 more than in the caliber 31-35. There is a notable difference between the two movements. With the caliber 31-35, to set the time, one would rotate the crown clockwise, and that would move the hands clockwise. Rotating the crown anti-clockwise would move the hands anti-clockwise, as one would expect, the conventional method. But it's a curiosity of the caliber 32-35 that the crown rotates the opposite direction to the hands. So for example, I'll demonstrate. If I rotate the crown anti-clockwise, it rotates the hands clockwise rather than anti-clockwise as one would expect. And if I rotate the crown clockwise, it rotates the hands anti-clockwise, so the opposite directions one would expect. So if you're familiar with the caliber 31-35 used in the previous version of this watch, or the Submariner Date for example, that does take some getting used to. It also feels like it has firmer resistance. The hands are silky smooth to set, both clockwise and anti-clockwise, but as I've discussed, one can feel the gearing, one can feel the resistance of the caliber 32-35 movement is greater than the caliber 31-35, but I like that. As you can see, the movement has hacking. I've now hacked the second hand, it's stopped dead. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. So I'll screw it back down and see how it feels. Absolutely silky smooth. There is an immediate pickup between the internal thread of the solid triplock crown and the external thread of the crown tube. So this is something that Rolex does better than any other watch brand. This is the best executed crown action in the world. I like both the twin lock and the triplock crowns. The triplock crown has 3 rubber O-rings sealing to the case and also the crown tube. The twin lock crown only has 2 O-rings, hence the name twin lock rather than triplock, but they're both outstanding. So one thing I really like about this piece is the screw down caseback. Now it looks very similar to the Submariner Date caseback and also the GMT Master 2 caseback, but it is lower profile. It's a thinner screw down caseback, and I'll explain what the benefit of that is. The Yacht-Master has 100 meters of water resistance. Now the advantage of it having a lower water resistance rating than the Submariner Date, for example, which has 300 meters, is Rolex are able to make the overall thickness of the Yacht-Master 40 thinner than the Submariner. This is only 11.6 millimeters thick, which is significantly thinner than a GMT Master 2 and also a Submariner Date, and that's thanks to the lower profile caseback. As you can see, it's thinner because it only needs to provide an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters rather than 300 meters. So with regards to the execution of the bracelets, it's one of my favourite aspects Beautiful luster to the 9040 oyster steel outer links, and they contrast beautifully to the 950 platinum solid centre links. Mirror polished centre links and brushed satin finish outer links are just sublime, as you can see. Beautiful mirror polishing, beautiful luster, just an absolute delight to look at. With regards to the clasp, it's finished to perfection as one would expect. Mirror polished flanks which complement the platinum centre section. The flip block is well executed. Now, one disadvantage of this flip block clasp is it doesn't have a glide lock mechanism as per the Submariner and Submariner date. But what we do have is a 5mm EasyLink extension which I have deployed. The EasyLink extension works very well. It's got a good positive click into the body and a good positive click to deploy it, and I've deployed it as you can see. So it is very good for on-the-fly adjustment, and it does add 5mm of extension to the length of the bracelet. But however, I would personally prefer the glide lock clasp to the EasyLink extension, and this is something I would like to see Rolex introduce in all their watches, including this Yacht-Master 40. So I'll give you a wrist shot. Now, this has been sized for a smaller wrist size, so it's a tight fit to get it across my hand. So what I'm going to do is just remove my glove, and then I'll be able to give you a wrist shot on wrist. Good positive click to the flip lock, and as you can see, the 40mm case fits my 8-inch wrist to perfection. It's got a more curved profile to the flanks of the case than the Submariner Date Super case, and even the current version with the 41mm case with the slimmed down lugs. This Yacht-Master case is just absolutely sublime. It's a far more elegant looking piece than the Submariner Date due to the curved profile of the flanks. It's just an absolute delight, and also the platinum bezel just finishes it to perfection. It complements the mirror polished platinum centre links. Very aesthetically pleasing piece to look at, and I absolutely love the contrast of the red second hand and the red Yacht-Master text on the dial, which adds interest to it. The blue sunburst dial is just absolutely gorgeous to look at. I like the way the blue sunburst dial changes colour in the lights. It changes from a dark navy blue colour to, in direct sunlight, an electric blue colour, so it's an interesting characteristic of the Yacht-Master dial, the sunburst finish rather than being glossy black or alternatively a matte black finish. The white gold Mercedes hands and white gold applied indices are just absolutely gorgeous to look at. The laser engraved rehort is also finished to perfection, and it's just a gorgeous piece to look at. Mirror polishing to the tops of the case also adds to the elegant look of the piece. It looks more like a dress watch aesthetic rather than the brushed satin finish of the Submariner Date and the GMT Master 2, for example, which have a more tool watch aesthetic. The mirror polishing to the tops of the lugs and the mirror polishing to the centre links give it a more dress watch appeal. So it's very comfortable to wear for long periods of time, and of course it is very low profile at only 11.6mm, and as I've discussed, that is significantly lower profile than the Submariner Date and also the GMT Master 2. Now, the thing to note is it's 150 grams precisely with all the links in the platinum and oyster steel bracelet. And as you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 150 grams for a 40mm piece to be perfection. So the weight of this piece, the heft on wrist, feels sublime. It's the perfect balance between having wrist presence and heft, but also having comfort level to wear the watch for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. So let's do a Lume test, and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to its absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to its absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. Rolex Chromolite really is the very best quality Lume in the world. It's very similar in tone to Swiss BGW9 Super Luminova. It has that similar blue tone to it. It's bright, and it's also continuing to glow for a good length of time. Really, there isn't a better quality Lume. This is the very best of Lume in the Swiss watchmaking industry, and indeed the best quality Lume in the world. The Mercedes hands are clearly legible, and also the Lume dots on the second hand sweeping round on the red second hand is clearly legible. It's the classic Rolex maxi dial layout used in the GMT Master 2 and also the Submariner Date. It really cannot be improved upon. Good orientation, good legibility, and just an absolute pleasure to look at. The Chromolite, it's gorgeous. Right, so let's discuss the movement used. The movement is the caliber 32-35, which is reason alone to purchase this Yacht-Master 40. It has 31 joules, it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz, and as you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 4 Hz to be the sweet spot. It's the perfect compromise between power reserve and accuracy. 28,800 vibrations per hour gives a lovely smooth sweep to the second hand. It has hand winding and hacking, as I've discussed, which are useful complications. The caliber 3235 uses a paramagnetic parachrome blue hairspring, so it's a highly anti-magnetic movement, and it is also highly shock resistant because it uses Paraflex shock absorbers. 70-hour power reserve. Now that's something to note because the predecessor, the caliber 3135, only had 48 hours power reserve. This caliber 3235 has 70 hours, which is very impressive. So that is a very practical upgrade. As I've discussed, this is certified both by COSC and also Rolex as a superlative chronometer, so the stated accuracy is -2 to +2 seconds per day. I'm pleased to report that this one is running consistently at +2 seconds per day when fully wound to its 70-hour maximum power reserve. So accurate movement, and the build quality is outstanding, and it is also technically excellent. So the chronology in the movement is also highly efficient, and that alone is responsible for the gain in power reserve from 48 hours of the 3135 to 70 hours of the 3235. So incredibly efficient movement, and also one of my favourite aspects is the use of the high performance lubricant which Rolex developed for the caliber 3235. The benefit of using the high performance lubricants in the caliber 3235 is it has extended this service interval. The previous movement, the caliber 3135, had a 5-year service interval, but the caliber 3235 with that high performance lubricant has a 10-year service interval. So it's very reassuring to think that this is a brand new 2020 unworn piece. If you purchase this piece, you can wear it for 10 years before it needs a service at Rolex Service Centre. So that is an advantage the caliber 3235 has over the 3135. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. So €14,390 is a significant premium over the retail, but however these are relatively difficult pieces to obtain from a Rolex authorised dealer. They are sought after. So yes, I think the premium over retail, $14,390, is justified due to the scarcity and the unavailability of the Yacht-Master 40 with the caliber 3235. With regards to value, this specification is absolutely loaded. It's made from platinum and oyster steel, solid 950 platinum bezel, solid 950 platinum centre links, and also the centre section of the clasp is made from 950 platinum. Platinum is of course an incredibly expensive precious metal, so one is getting a platinum and oyster steel piece with the caliber 3235 movement, so that fully justifies the price point, and it also fully justifies that this is an outstanding, excellent quality piece. So I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. Yes, it is excellent quality, and yes, it is excellent value. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Rolex Yacht-Master 40, reference 126622. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.